So welcome back to my channel. This is Dom and another one of my occasional videos featuring some of the castles from the Marcher region between England and Wales, inspired by the book Castles of the Marches, which looks at all these castles that were largely built, or at least the sites were built, following the Norman invasion of Britain in obviously 1066. Everyone knows the date of Battle of Hastings, and most of these border castles were developed not long after that as the Normans pacified the border regions between Wales and England. So today I'm going to take a look at Montgomery Castle, which overlooks the town of Montgomery in Powys in mid-Wales. It's an imposing ruin that is sited high above the town. Beautiful little town, actually, well worth a visit in its own right. Tiny, but very nice indeed. But the castle is situated above the town, with a very dominating view across the valley. It's strategically important, and therefore, as was often the case in many of these castles, it was the site of much fighting over the centuries. Means the original castle was destroyed and rebuilt a number of times through to the early 14th century. During the First English Civil War, it was the site of the largest battle in Wales on the 17th of September 1644. When the walls themselves were slighted, as was often the case in the English Civil War, after the Second English Civil War in 1649, to prevent the castle being used again. Originally, Montgomery Castle was a Motte and Bailey castle known as Hen Domen. It was built under the orders of Roger de Montgomery, the Earl of Shrewsbury, sometime between 1071 and 1074. In 1093, it was captured by the Welsh prince Cadwyn ap Blendyn and his brothers. But after the rebellion of his son, Robert Belem, in 1102, the castle was given to Baldwin de Bouillère, and it was then changed, the name of the castle was then changed to Baldwin's Town. De Bouillères held the castle until 1214, when it was destroyed by a local Welsh prince. But the site was of such importance, dominating a crossing over an important waterway and very close to a main route into Wales, that it was rebuilt in the late summer of 1223, not exactly on the same sites, about a mile to the southeast of the original site, under the orders of Henry III of England. Its architect, Hubert de Burgh, also built Skentrith, Grosmont, and the White Castle, which we've already looked at in this series. If you're interested, check back through the playlist. You'll find the videos covering those three castles. From 1223 until 1228, masons worked solidly, building the entire inner ward, or donju as it is then known, on a great rock above the later town of Montgomery. The work consisted of gatehouse, two D-shaped towers, and the apartments which were crowded around the curtain wall of the inner ward. After another unsuccessful attack by a Welsh lord in 1228, the middle and outer wards were added, and another attack in 1233 resulted in damage to the well tower, which had to be subsequently repaired and re-roofed. In fact, the well in the inner ward of the castle was built by a number of miners who were brought in from the Forest of Dean, which is a fair distance away, and they dug through 200 meters or more of solid rock to get to water, which then fed the castle for its entirety of its occupation. Montgomery was granted a royal charter in 1227, making it the oldest borough in Wales, and in 1267 it hosted negotiations called the Treaty of Montgomery between Henry III of England and one of the Welsh princes. In December 1282, the castle garrison formed part of the army that defeated and then killed the Welsh prince at the Battle of Orwendon Bridge. The walled town of Montgomery was attacked by Owen Glendower in 1402, which was sacked and burned. Local forces successfully defended the castle, however, but the town remained a ruin until the 17th century. And in fact, that had a considerable impact on the castle itself, because it obviously couldn't supply itself with no town below. So the castle then passed back to royal ownership because of its strategic importance. When the First English Civil War began in August 1642, Mid Wales was largely royalist, and the castle was held for Charles I by the elder Lord Herbert of Charbury. In September 1644, he surrendered to parliamentarian forces commanded by Sir Thomas Middleton and Thomas Myton. On the 18th of September, a royalist attempt to retake the castle was repulsed in what was the biggest battle of the war in Wales and a major victory for Parliament. However, the new parliamentarian governor, Sir John Price, a royalist defector, switched sides again in May 1645. Much of Wales rose again in 1648 in the Second English Civil War, and the castle walls were demolished by Parliament in June 1649, despite opposition from the second Lord Herbert, who succeeded his father in 1648. This policy was followed throughout England and Wales to prevent castles being used again and to reduce the number and cost of garrisons required to hold such important locations. Today, much of the site is accessible to walk around. It's quite a steep walk up from the town of Montgomery, although there is a very small car park which you can park in if you're feeling particularly unable to walk up the slope. But be warned, it is very small indeed. The site is run by a Welsh charity. It's free to enter, and it's well worth a stop if you're in that part of Mid Wales. The views from the top are spectacular. It dominates the valley, and you can see very clearly where the structure of the inner and outer wards were. The towers largely less so. It's the parliamentarian forces did a pretty good job on destroying most of the castle, and I suspect other bits were probably robbed by people over the centuries. But it's a particularly impressive site, and on a beautiful day, we were there. It was a beautiful sunny day, but the wind was whistling. You can imagine it would have been quite a bleak posting for those soldiers keeping an eye on the Welsh or keeping an eye on the English, depending on who was holding it at that particular time. Well worth a visit, and certainly can recommend. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe, and check out some of the other castles in the Marcher region that I've been covering in this series. As I say, they're all under a playlist that you can quite clearly find and have a look at those. So hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you again soon. This is Dom, signing out.